video from 2018 really unearthed the question that we all are asking, whether the US government truly knows about UFOs. And the clip that we're going to talk about today comes from James Clapper. Now, Robert James Clapper, or James Robert Clapper even Jr., is a retired Lieutenant General in the US Air Force and a former Director of National Intelligence. Now, I wanted to make sure that we kind of got a bit of context into who this person was, so you could see that the person we're talking about isn't just some dud off the street. Clapper held several key positions within the US Intelligence Committee and served as a Director for the National Intelligence Defense from 1992 to 1995. He was the first Director of the Defense of Intelligence within the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and simultaneously under the Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, and he served as the Director for National Geospatial Intelligence Agency from September 2001 to June 2006. On June 5th, 2010, President Barack Obama nominated Clapper to replace Dennis C. Blair as United States Director of National Intelligence. Clapper was unanimously confirmed by the Senate for the position on August 5th, 2010. Following the June 2013 leak of documents detailing NSA practice and collecting of telephone metadata on millions of Americans' telephone calls, Clapper was accused of perjury for telling the Congressional Committee hearing on the NSA that does not collect any type of data on millions of Americans earlier that year. There's a bit of scandal for you. But, you know, this guy was from a very high up position. He was literally the head of the National Intelligence. He worked for the Pentagon. So, you know, if anyone's going to have information on this situation, it will most likely be this guy. But back to the point. There was a article or basically an interview that took place back in 2018 on CNN, where James Clapper spoke to people about the logical for intel community to address UFOs. And what he goes on to say is absolutely mind-blowing, and it is literally going to change the game. Let's take a little look.
I also want to turn now to talk to you about UFOs, because a former Navy pilot gave an interview to CBS News in which he says flight crew
Ryan Graves, by the way, was the pilot that took the interview.
Observed UFOs off the Atlantic coast every day. Here's a clip from that.
So you're seeing it both with the radar and with the infrared, and that tells you that there is something out there.
Pretty hard to spoof that every day for at least a couple of years.
Wait a minute, every day for a couple of years?
Mm-hmm.
So next month, a government report is expected to be made public on the sightings of UFOs. As the former Director of National Intelligence, I think there have been a lot of theories about UFOs. What do you make of these revelations? What might this be? Have you seen any yourself? What do you make of this?
Well, first, I think it is kind of, there is logic to the intelligence community addressing this, since the intelligence community has a lot of practice of dealing with ambiguity and less than complete facts. And secondly, I think it's really important that whenever we witness such phenomenon, that it is recorded and documented for the future. When we may gather more information and have a better understanding of what's transpiring. Could there be life out there? Sure. As huge as the universe is, we really can't reject that possibility. So I think this is a good thing. The transparency, I expect this report will be filled with ambiguity as well. And people, depending on their leanings, will extract what they want out of this report.
How it always goes, right? Where there is ambiguity, people can pull what they want from it. But it does sound like it is, something that we haven't seen before, this type of transparency around this topic.
Yes, and I'm not sure why that is. The only reason to me, for classification would be if there's some sensitive method that data relating to so-called UFOs was collected. But other than that, I don't know why we haven't been more transparent about it in the past, and I'm part of that crime, I guess.
Let's just play that back just a little bit. Let's just play that back just a tiny bit. and listen to that one more time.
And that, I don't know why we haven't been more transparent about it in the past, and I'm part of that crime, I guess. And my former capacities were, I didn't insist on more transparency with respect to this issue.
The former head of national intelligence said on an interview, right, to CNN, "I don't know why we weren't more transparent on this. Maybe I was also part of the problem," or to words of that effect. Literally stating that they know something. He has no idea why the government are lying to the people. No idea why they haven't been more transparent. And even admits that he was probably part of the problem and played a role within that. Is that not insane? The head of national intelligence has said he has no idea why they weren't more transparent about this topic, and he probably played a role in that. Now, you could probably see that and be like, well, maybe he's talking about if they were to have any information on it. The information's there. Whistleblowers have come forward. The context of that clip, that's why I wanted to go and find... I saw this on Reddit. It was a 50-second clip. I wanted to find the full segment to provide context. Because the context is that they were talking about Ryan Graves, right? So they were talking about a whistleblower. Fast forward the clip and he's like, yeah, we should have probably been a bit more transparent about it. We probably should have, insane. Now, to obviously move on to Ryan Graves, CNN have done yet another interview about a year ago with former Navy pilot Ryan Graves, who talks about his experiences, and this is how that went down.
That Chinese balloon that floated across the continental U.S. got a lot of attention, and somehow it eclipsed other, weirder, unidentified flying objects.
Nickel 6-1 Tango, Roger, over. Oh, got it! Roger, there's troubleshooting as soon as
Did you box moving target?
602.
No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at the fly.
Insane.
Former Navy fighter pilot Ryan Graves has a new article in Politico titled, "We Have a Real UFO Problem, and It's Not Balloons." He joins me now. Ryan, I'm with you. I mean, you've seen weirder things than a Chinese balloon while you've been in the sky, yes?
Certainly. We've seen things that we haven't been able to explain as simply a balloon.
I mean, obviously, bear in mind that this guy literally went on CNN, 60 Minutes, and said that he had seen a UFO every single day for at least a couple of years. At least a couple of years.
And as we've been talking about the various objects that have been shot down over the U.S., there's been a pretty clear bifurcation between what we've been calling a Chinese balloon and what these other three objects are. And while we don't know what they are, the fact of the matter is we should know what's above our head at any given time, whether it's a national security issue or whether it's a scientific question. We need to figure out what's above our heads.
That video that we just showed, was that from your squad?
Yes, that was in 2015 while we were aboard the USS Theodore Roosevelt off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida. We were doing training missions, preparing for our combat deployment. We recorded that object as well as other objects that were operating in our vicinity on a regular basis. And we simply didn't know what they were, but we did know that they were a safety hazard for our air crew and for our training missions. And we've been looking for the right way to report and deal with those issues ever since. With the Americans for Safe Aerospace, we're going to be pushing legislative action to ensure that the proper policies are in place so that pilots and aviators, both in the military and in the commercial markets, feel comfortable reporting these things, whether, again, it's a national security issue, we need to pay attention to make sure there's not security gaps, or whether there is something unknown, we need to inquire on that.
But Ryan, what was that thing?
That's what we're still trying to figure out. So what we know is that it wasn't one of our aircraft that we were operating within the vicinity of. We're fairly certain that it's not a foreign adversary at this point, but it still remains in the unknown bucket. And the primary issue here is that there are enough things that are in that bucket of unknown that the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office within the DoD and various senators and congressmen and women are looking into this matter from the angle of national security in a way we haven't had before. With the recent shootdowns, we can see just how serious of an issue it is. Even if they are just balloons can still be a national security issue when they're overhead our national security facilities and airspace.
But these things that you've seen, and in fact, I should let everybody know, you saw them a lot. This wasn't just a one-off once in 2015. You saw UFOs often.
Every single
and
day.
And these things, correct me if I'm wrong, they do things. They have sort of technology that you all couldn't identify.
It's not that we were just seeing them out there and somewhat identifying something in the distance. We're using a multitude of sensors on our aircraft and also distributed across multiple aircraft and different platforms that are detecting these objects within a sensor network. And so when we then correlate those radar tracks with our infrared camera systems and eventually move in closer to detect them with our eyeballs, we have high confidence in those track files and what we're experiencing. And what we're experiencing are things that we're really not sure what they are at the end of the day.
Come on, man. You know what they are. You just can't say it because literally the government are like this to you right now. You know what they are. We know what they are. The head of intelligence at the time knew what they were.
They're performing a number of behaviors that we don't recognize, such as the ability to stay stationary in very high winds with no lifting platforms, no surfaces, but also to maintain speeds of 0.6 to 0.8 Mach, which is upwards of 350 knots. And they can do that for many hours on end. We don't have the ability to do that in our aircraft. And we simply don't know who's operating these or what their intent are.
I think we have another clip of one from your squadron of them seeing it, as you said, in high wind and operating differently.
Look at that thing. It's rotating. Oh my gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
Wow.
And so when you say that you want to get to a point where people feel comfortable reporting them, do people not feel comfortable reporting these sightings?
They still don't, and I'll only speak within the aviation community, but it's a big risk to go out publicly on this topic. At the end of the day, if you're going to highlight yourself, at least in the military aviation communities, for something like this, there's very little upside for you. We're very busy aviators in the U.S. Navy, Air Force, and the military in general are very busy just doing their regular job, and they're not equipped to go out and do research on these mysterious objects. On the commercial sector, people work for a very long time in a single career at a single company, and they're a single signature away on a medical evaluation to say they're unfit for flying and to lose that career.
So basically what he's saying there is, whistleblowers are just one signature away from being deemed unfit to fly, and then that's their career over. Not great, is it?
So there's really just very little motivation to speak publicly about this, especially when it's been communicated by their employers and historically that this is a somewhat off limits topic.
Mm-hmm. And last, Ryan, do you have a theory on what these are?
Yeah, of course you do. Come on, Ryan.
Well, I have a theory of what they're not, and I do have a method, I think, of trying to figure out what these are. We know that we can detect these objects. We are starting to recognize as a government and as a society that we have an obligation to figure out what these are to ensure safe flying. And so I think we can figure it out. I think that is an answerable question, although not quite yet.
Ryan, you know what they are. Come on, stop playing with us. Stop teasing us. And look at that little smirk, by the way. He knows what's going on. Anyway, what do you guys think of this entire situation? Have we just taken a giant leap from a video that has been resurfaced from like 6 years ago towards the actual truth? I don't know, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. While you're down there, be sure to jump scare the hell out of that like button, subscribe if you're new, tick my little bell so you get notified whenever we upload to the channel. And until next time, guys, I hope you have enjoyed. Can't wait to see you in the next one, and I'll speak to you later. Peace.